In the depths of the Great Depression, a secret language was scratched across America, on fences, water towers, and the walls of passing trains. Millions of people walked right past it. Almost no one could read it. But to the men who could, a single chalk mark could mean the difference between a hot meal and a loaded shotgun. And one mark, a simple circle with 2 arrows, was feared above all the rest. The crash of 1929 shattered the American economy in a single season. In the months that followed, banks collapsed, factories went silent, and paychecks stopped coming. By the winter of 1933, nearly 1 in 4 working men stood idle, a quarter of the nation's workforce, with nothing to do and nowhere to go. In some towns, entire blocks emptied out as families packed what little they owned and drifted toward the promise of work that rarely materialized. The land itself turned against many. Across the southern plains, dust storms stripped farms to bare clay. Crops withered, livestock died, and whole communities vanished under a haze of red earth. The Dust Bowl drove hundreds of thousands from Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and beyond, pushing them west on foot, by truck, or clinging to the sides of freight trains. They joined a growing tide of the desperate, nearly 4 million Americans living on the road, searching for a meal, a job, or just a safe place to sleep. Among them traveled 250,000 teenagers, some as young as 14, boys and girls who had outgrown their families' ability to feed them, or who simply chose the rails over hunger and humiliation at home. They slept in makeshift camps called jungles, cooked whatever they could find in a battered tin pot, and learned to trust only those who shared their fate. The road was not an adventure. It was a last resort, a grinding struggle for survival where every day brought new risks. In this world, information was as valuable as bread. A single word, a whispered warning, or a mark on a fence could mean the difference between hope and disaster. A stranger steps down from a freight train in a town he's never seen before. He has no money, no map, and no promise of welcome. Yet the landscape itself holds clues. Silent marks scratched in chalk or coal on fences, water towers, or the side of a boxcar. These signs let the town speak before a single word is exchanged. A simple mark might steer him toward a friendly porch, warn him off a house with a mean dog, or hint at a hidden spot where others have found shelter. The first stop is almost always the jungle, the hobo's temporary camp, tucked out of sight near the tracks. Here, the smell of wood smoke and the sound of low voices rise around a battered pot of mulligan stew, a meal built from whatever scraps the group can find or beg. In these camps, survival depends on sharing news, food, and the latest warnings about the next town down the line. But danger travels too. Railroad police, known as bulls, patrol the yards with clubs and a keen eye for trespassers. The rails themselves are a gamble. Every ride risks arrest, injury, or worse. In this world, information is passed quickly and quietly. A mark on a fence could be the difference between a meal and a night in jail. Leon Ray Livingston, known as a number 1, was among the first to try to put this hidden system into words. Over decades and 500,000 miles, Livingston chronicled the signs and customs that let strangers read the road like a coded letter. His books became a lifeline for many, offering a glimpse of order in a world ruled by chance. A battered fence on the outskirts of town might carry a hidden code. 20 secret marks, each holding a promise or warning for those passing through. The first mark, a simple cross, was known as the angel food sign. It meant a meal was possible, but often came with a sermon or prayer. Churches and missions used food to draw in the hungry, and this symbol pointed the way for anyone willing to accept both bread and blessing. A chalk-drawn cat, tail curled and whiskers sharp, meant a kind-hearted woman lived inside. A promise of warmth and a full plate. For many, a gentle word and a kitchen's glow mattered as much as the food itself. The top hat, drawn with care, marked the home of a wealthy gentleman, someone likely to offer work or a generous handout. These marks didn't guarantee help, but they offered hope where it was scarce. Some signs were strictly practical. Crossed shovels meant honest work, digging, chopping, tending fields. An axe on a gatepost signaled firewood could be traded for supper. Quick marks, triangle with a cross for food for work, an oval for free food, a circle with an X for a good handout, mapped out the invisible economy of the road, where labor and charity met. Water was as vital as bread. A wavy line or a W pointed to a safe place to fill a cup or camp for the night. The open-topped square meant a house with a good kitchen or a safe place to sleep. A barred rectangle warned that begging would fail. The door locked tight. Arms outstretched meant welcome, at least for a meal or a spot by the stove. These marks turned an unknown town into a map of rest and relief. Alongside hope, the code carried hard warnings, signs that could save a traveler from disaster. 3 diagonal slashes, quick and sharp, meant trouble ahead, a place to avoid, no kindness to be found, and best left behind without a second glance. Just as stark was the jagged line, like the teeth of a saw, scratched low on a gatepost. This mark spelled out danger in the shape of a vicious dog, a warning that one wrong step could bring a bite or a chase. The triangle, with 2 small arms, a simple shape, told of another threat. A house where guns were near at hand, where a knock might be answered with cold steel or a shout to move on. Some warnings came in circles. 2 interlocked rings, quiet but unmistakable, meant a police presence or the nearness of jail. To ignore this sign was to risk arrest, a night behind bars, or worse. A cross drawn inside the outline of a house whispered of sickness or filth within, a place where disease lingered or the air itself might do harm. Each of these marks was a silent shout, a last line of defense for men who had little else to protect them. Yet not every symbol closed a door. A simple caduceus, or a stick with a pair of snakes, pointed to a doctor willing to treat the penniless, rare mercy in a world ruled by coin. A house marked with an X was a gentle refusal. The resident would not help, but would not call the police either. Even this, in its way, was a kindness, a warning to move along without fear. Sometimes, a hobo left something more personal, A moniker, his chosen road name, the date, and an arrow showing his direction became a signature, a trace of passage, and a message to those who followed. These names, carved or chalked, told of survival, of a journey still unfinished, and of the silent brotherhood of the road. A circle with 2 arrows, scratched in chalk, coal, or the blunt end of a nail, stood as the most dreaded mark on the road. It carried no hope, no offer of work or food, only a silent order: get out fast. For those who knew its meaning, the warning was absolute. A traveler who missed it or doubted the message risked more than hunger. In towns marked by this sign, police moved quickly and without mercy. Strangers were watched, questioned, and swept off the street before they could find shelter. Some vanished into holding cells for days, sometimes weeks, with no chance to plead their case. The town itself became the threat, a place where the simple act of pausing could end a journey for good. In a world of shifting dangers, the circle with 2 arrows was the hardest truth. Sometimes survival meant turning away before you even arrived. Historians have long debated how far the so-called hobo code truly reached. While some symbols have been cataloged in books and period pamphlets, most survival knowledge on the rails moved by word of mouth, shifting from campfire to campfire, never written down at all. Nels Anderson, a sociologist who lived among hobos before publishing his study in 1923, gave this world its first formal record. He described a culture built on trust, improvisation, and a kind of unwritten law. That law had roots even deeper than the Depression. In 1889, at a convention in St. Louis, traveling workers adopted a code of honor. Its rules were plain: govern yourself, respect the law, seek work when you can, show mercy to the weak, and share whatever you have. These men were not beggars or outcasts by choice. They were workers, stripped of everything but their dignity, moving through a hard world with a quiet, stubborn sense of right and wrong. Even now, as walls and fences vanish or are rebuilt, the urge to warn, to guide, to protect strangers endures. In hard times, secret languages become survival tools, etched in wood, or code, or memory. The marks may fade, but the need for mercy never disappears.